All right, welcome to Reason Workshop, Class 7, Creating and Managing Tracks in Reason. Today we're going to go over creating, deleting, and duplicating tracks in Reason, moving tracks, editing your MIDI performances, drawing and erasing MIDI data, drawing and editing automation and controller information, recording an audio performance, editing an audio performance, creating and editing blocks, and then we'll have a test. So let's start out with creating, deleting, and duplicating tracks in Reason. So when you go into the Create menu, it gives you three different options for creating tracks. You can create an audio track, an instrument, or an effect. So starting out with creating an audio track, you just select Create Audio Track, then select the input on that track and hit the record button down here, and boom, the track will start. The other way of doing it, which would be in the tool window, you can create an audio track just by dragging that into the rack, and that will automatically create the track down on the sequencer. Over here you can create an instrument, and you will browse through all the different instruments that are available, and it will just create an instrument in the rack and then also create a lane down on the sequencer track. You can click on the track to play it, or you can press record. A different kind of track is a mix channel. On this Kong drum beat, I can drag a mix channel into the rack. If I want to route a separate output to have the snare come through a different mix channel, and then select the output of that individual drum, and then route that output into this mix channel. Now if you want to delete a track, you just click on it and hit the delete button on your computer keyboard, and it'll ask you if you want to delete selected only or delete all in group. In this case, we're just going to say just delete all. Now sometimes you just want to delete the track, not the device, so you can just select that from the edit menu, just delete tracks. And if there's extra lanes, you can just delete the lanes through that little X button on the right of the lane. Now if you want to duplicate the devices, we can just select that from the edit menu, duplicate tracks and devices, and then you have an exact copy of everything that's in the rack as well as everything on the sequencer. Now why would you want to do that? Because you can actually get some really interesting effects and do like parallel processing. So in this case, I'll put a high pass filter on one and a low pass filter on the other. So on one, I'm using a low pass filter and editing out the highs, and on two, I'm using a high pass filter and editing out the lows. Then I can use the faders to blend those signals together. Okay, now for moving tracks. Now if you want to move tracks up and down on the sequencer, you can just click and drag that up, drag this one down. You can alter their order in the sequencer very simply. And clips, of course, can be dragged and moved across lanes. You can take a clip over to a different sequencer track. And if you want to copy and paste, it's as simple as selecting a clip and then going into the edit menu and selecting copy and then selecting paste. Now if I want to edit my MIDI performance, I just double click on a clip and I can move the notes forward. With Snap to Grid on, it's always going to move at that measurement. In this case, 16th notes. Now you can also move notes up. So in this case, we're going to move those individual notes up a little bit. I'm going to try and put the open hi-hats to match with the kick at the very end of each bar. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Also, you can use the pencil to draw and erase MIDI data. Or actually, you can use the pencil to draw MIDI data as well. So in this case, I'm going to draw a reverse crash. You can hear that reverse crash takes a long time to swell into the note. So I'm going to try and make that note end on the downbeat, end on 1. Now also, the length of the MIDI note that can be drawn by the pencil are set by snap to grid. So if I select that to be a 16th note, it's just going to draw a 16th note. If I select an 8th note, it's going to draw it a little bit longer as an 8th note. You can erase MIDI data just by clicking on any note and hitting the delete button. And then you can see that that note is gone. You can also draw a lasso by clicking outside of a bunch of notes, drawing a lasso around something and erasing. Also, for the hotkeys for Command and Paste would be Command C, and then holding down Command V would be paste, and you can just paste your MIDI data simply this way. Now for drawing and editing automation and controller information. So there are 2 ways to enter automation data onto the sequencer. 1, move controllers while recording, or 2, draw in with a pencil. So we'll start out with number 1. I'm just going to hit the mute button while it's recording. And if I like that automation, I can move it around, copy and paste it around the sequence. And I can also double click on it to edit it. In this case, you can see when those notes come on and when they drop off. And you can also draw them in with a pencil, and you can drag those little dots around if you want to change the timing of it. Let's try number 2 now. If you right-click on any parameter, you can edit the automation. So it's going to make a master level lane. Now if I use a pencil, I can make a clip and then double-click on that clip, and now I can use the pencil to draw in curve automation. Recording an audio performance is as simple as opening a track, selecting the input, and hitting record. So I'm just going to play a bass pattern along with this. Keep in mind this is totally direct without any effects yet. Now for editing an audio performance, working just with clips is exactly the same as working with MIDI clips. So I can resize that clip. For instance, here I want to make a clean 4-bar phrase. So I can take this end where there's that black triangle, and I can move that where the 4-bar phrase would end. I can also take snap to grid off and select individual cuts with the razor and chop little parts of it to move the timing sooner. Then I also want to put snap to grid on and get a clean cut with the razor at the beginning of that 4-bar phrase. When I'm done, I'll draw a lasso by selecting outside of the clip and drawing around it, and then hit Command J to join the clip. And now I have a clean 4-bar clip for that bass part. Now I'm going to paste those into blocks, so I'm just going to select a 4-bar phrase of the drums and the bass, copy by using Command C, and then go into block 1 and select Command V, and I'll move the E marker to the end of the loop. And now I'll go back into the song mode and just delete everything that's there. Now I can use the pencil to start arranging my sequence with this block. And now with editing these blocks together, I can try making finite little edits to create an intro. with some kind of chopped up version of this block. So let's start out and select quarter notes, and I'll just get each beat sort of isolated. And I'll draw a whole loop. And I can copy and paste those block chunks as well. Let's just paste the first quarter note back over. Let's see how this is going to start. We'll try something simple. So we'll go from quarter notes. Now I'll resize that block, and we'll do these as eighth notes. I can also just hit Command C, Command V, and those will paste. And now I'll just drag all those blocks over. So we have this little introduction, which is like a reduction of time.